I've been using this camera for the past 2 years. It was released in the late October and I grabbed it and took it to my trip to Vietnam. This camera has been with me to Thailand, at least for the first day, but I will tell you more about that later in the video, so stay tuned. I took it to Seychelles, I took it to Philippines and many other countries, and it did great. The camera, as you probably already know from the thumbnail or title, is one and only DJI Pocket 3. I am recording it at the moment. You can rate the image that is coming out of it by yourself. If you're here, the camera is probably well known to you. Even if you don't use it, if you don't have it, you see it all over YouTube. And this video might be interesting for you, maybe because you are looking to buy one in 2026, or maybe you already have one and want to know others' thoughts and opinions of that. In today's video, I'm going to do a very long-term review of this camera, and a little spoiler, I love almost everything about it. There are a few things that bugs me, but there is one big thing that actually drives me crazy every time I use the camera, but it's not even the part of the camera itself. I saved it for the end of the video, so stay tuned. Let's jump into the good and the bad of DJI Pocket 3. Let's start with the good things. The most important part of the camera is the 1-inch sensor, and the image quality that comes out of it is just crazy good. You can see yourself, let me know in the comments if you agree with me. This tiny camera that is situated somewhere in between action cameras, it's just an action cam on a gimbal. The footage that comes straight from the camera looks awesome, even on auto. When you put some ND filters and D-Log M 10-bit color profile, then the image quality is superb. And the night shots are not just usable, they're looking very good. Of course, it's not the level of full-frame Sony or Canon cameras, but it's a tiny camera. It's a pocket version of a camera, so you can basically take it instantly and start shooting after a few seconds. No need for some lenses, no need for some bulky, heavy setup that you'll have to carry a backpack with you. No, this is just a simple, very small camera that allows you to shoot very well stabilized image. Also at night, because it's on a gimbal, it's not inbuilt stabilization. So I can only say good things about the image quality of the camera. When they released the Pocket 1, the sensor was 1/2.3 inch. Then for Pocket 2, it was 1/1.7. And then for the Pocket 3, they went crazy. And at the time, it was something unusual for such a small camera to have 1-inch sensor. Still, even with the Osmo Action 6 that was recently released, it has 1/1.1 inch sensor, which is not even a 1-inch sensor yet. Second thing that I love about the camera is the rotating screen. I didn't even know that I would need it, but when they introduced it, I thought like, wow, that's just such a simple and yet brilliant idea to make a bigger screen that allows you to see more of what you're actually filming and make it easy for you to change a setting or to preview your footage and keep the form factor of this slim camera that you can hold like a flashlight in your hand. And the fact that you can also rotate the screen back to its original form, or the form that you can store the camera in, and use the screen for the vertical shots. That's also something that I really like about the camera, even though I don't use it very often. I already said how small the camera is, and the fact that it actually got much bigger than the Pocket 1, it's still pocketable. You can still put it in your jacket, you can still put it in the pocket of a bigger pants, because not your jeans probably, but with Pocket 1 it was also not very convenient. Also, in comparison to Pocket 1, I really like the fact that this time they decided to add the strap and allow you to put it not to the casing as it was in the Pocket 1, but to the camera itself. We want to make sure that the camera stays safe, not the casing. It was convenient back then because you could hold the casing with the camera inside on your wrist and then just take the camera and forget about the case. It was just hanging off your wrist. But when this falls out of your hand by mistake, then it's a big problem. Happily, for many years I was using the Pocket 1. I never had this issue. And the last but not least, the improvements over the years that the camera has thanks to many updates of the software. Even after 2 years, it got some really nice new features such as lossless crop. Let's be honest, it's not actually lossless, but still it is better than the previous crop. You cannot use it with D-Log-M, but I still think it's something good, but because the camera lacks a telephoto lens, so I think for some it might be a really nice feature. Another recent software update brought us the breathing compensation of the camera. It crops a bit, but it helps the camera with this weird woggles on the edges of the camera while changing the focus points. And now let's talk about bad things. And I will be honest with you guys, the image quality and ease of use of the camera is the most important part of this product. So all of those cons that I will tell you about, it was me being very picky to choose something bad about the camera, but they're not bothering me. And if you're wondering, should you buy the camera in 2026, I don't think it will be a blocker to anyone, but hear them out and decide yourself. I always praise DJI for the build quality of their product, and it's not much different with DJI Pocket 3, but in some areas there's plenty of room for improvement. For example, the build quality of front case or back case of the camera isn't actually really good. It feels like a cheap plastic and I don't really like it in comparison to, for example, DJI Pocket 1 or other DJI products I have. It feels like maybe it should be something more rubbery, just more pleasant to hold, so it's not that slippery. I don't know, it's not that big of a deal, but it's something they should improve in the next generation. And while we are with the build quality, what I really don't like about the camera is the fact it's not waterproof, or at least weatherproofed, somehow sealed. It's not sealed whatsoever. It could use some kind of a rubber gasket in between the rotating screen and the body of the camera, because that's what happened in Thailand for me. In my first day of the trip, I was recording the waves. I was in the water, but only till my ankles. But somehow the wave hit my ankle, and then one droplet just went in between the screen and the camera, and it actually destroyed the whole camera. It was the first trip that I wanted to use my ND filters and start recording in D-Log-M, and unfortunately I have to use my backup camera, which was DJI Pocket 1. It was exactly the same camera that I bought a few years ago, and I still think that the build quality of this camera is much superior than the Pocket 3. Also, the feel of opening and closing the rotating screen isn't as pleasant as it should be. It should be like a fidget spinner, right? Just don't like to do it. I just want to open it and then close it. But every time I feel like something is wrong, like it might broke. at some point. It's my third DJI Pocket 3 camera. I just don't feel it's durable enough. It's just pretty fragile. Of course, I understand it's not an action cam. It's gimbal camera, so the gimbal part itself makes it more vulnerable to falling down and just breaking. I think that they could do better with the build quality. While we're speaking about the gimbal, it happens to me very often that when I try to record using two types of motions, panning and tilting at the same time, let's say I'm going from the left bottom to the right top, and then suddenly something odd is happening to the camera movement. It just weirdly jumps in a different position, which makes the footage unusable, unfortunately. And staying with the gimbal, maybe it's technically impossible, but I would like the camera to have 360-degree gimbal movement. Right now, it's pretty limited, especially when you're panning the camera to the left. Then it stops at a very short degree, I think like 40 something. It's weird for me, of course. Maybe if it's not possible, they don't need to introduce 360 degree, but at least 180 degree each side. There's a thing that might be also missing in this camera, and it's the color sensor that was introduced in DJI Action 5 Pro. And I think that could be useful, and we don't have it in Pocket 3. I didn't even know when it was introduced that such thing is possible to do. But if it may improve the ability of the camera to set the correct white balance, then why not have it? A few years back, when I was using my DJI Pocket 1, and I tried to shoot some stars on a beautiful beach on a starry night, I could set the time of a shutter for 8 seconds, and that allows this tiny camera to actually make a motion lapse with some visible stars. And for Pocket 3, the maximum time for a shutter is like 3 seconds, and I was expecting like 30 seconds because I wanted to catch the stars and the beautiful time lapses on the beach. Unfortunately, it wasn't possible. What I would also love to see in Pocket 3, and I really don't like that it's not there, is the color reproduction for the D-Log M. We have it in Osmo Action 5 Pro, and it really is pleasant to see what is the final outcome of the footage you're taking at the moment, not to be surprised when editing it at home a few days later. And one part that I know it was very recently introduced to DJI Osmo Action 6, but the square sensor is just a great idea because you can record once and then use it for both types of situation, both horizontal and vertical, to use both in YouTube and Instagram. That's a pity that it's not there, but maybe in the next one. And actually, about DJI Pocket 4, I will be making another video about what I wish I see in Pocket 4. So if you are interested, please subscribe not to miss that. And as promised, the last part that bothers me the most and isn't actually a part of the camera, and maybe you guessed it, it's the case. Believe me, this case is terrible. I hate using it on the DJI Pocket 3, especially after having the best possible case for Pocket 1. It was so simple to use. The gimbal itself was so secure. This closing here, it was great. You had access to your SD card. Everything was slim, sleek, and just perfect. And I think it was the build quality of it was also much better. And then here comes the Pocket 3 case. Creator Combo was released with DJI mic, which was introduced like a few months after the camera, but they included some single pieces in DJI Pocket 3. At the time, I wasn't able to get it. Back then, I bought the standard combo. It's just ridiculously losing space for something that is no longer in use after 2 years, because from then they introduced DJI Mic Mini and Mic 2 and even Mic 3. So people mostly forgot about the Mic 1, and as far as I know, those new mics don't even fit here, or they are not designed especially to fit here. So it wasn't a good idea. Of course, I like the fact that you can put your ND filters here. It's pretty convenient, but it's the only good thing about the case. Next thing is, and the most painful, is the positioning of the camera in the casing. I really don't understand why it's done differently than it used to be in Pocket 1, facing the lens on the gimbal to the inside of the casing and then covering the gimbal from all sides, and also protecting the screen from the side and having it closed in the case itself. With Pocket 3, you have to put a lot of effort to position the Pocket 3 so the camera module won't stuck in between those holders for the gimbal, but the gimbal itself protrudes from the case. You allow the case not to protect the most vulnerable part, maybe after the screen. It's just, I just don't understand it. And I understand that the idea was to protect the screen at all costs, but I think that the screen would be protected as good from the side of the case as well as from the back of the case. I think that there is a lot of waste space in between the Pocket 3 and the case, which makes the whole setup bulkier unnecessarily. And the fact that the lower part of the camera isn't covered whatsoever, and not using this fact for the SD card to be available to you to just open it without taking the camera out of the case. Oh man, that's the worst part of the camera, the casing for the camera. And I tried to find something better on the market, but unfortunately nothing actually answered my needs. And I almost forgot, whenever I take out DJI Pocket 3 out of the bag, out of the pocket, whatever, the lens is almost every time facing outside of the case, which makes the lens prone to scratches and vulnerable even more, so the case simply doesn't work. And there is no strap that can hold the camera inside of the case, so basically it can fall out, especially if you are holding it for the case and then you suddenly bump the lower part of the camera to whatever, then it will simply fall out of the case. So the strap is needed. They had it in Pocket 1, why they make it worse? Thank you very much for watching, and if you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing and liking. That motivates me a lot to create more videos in the future. See you in the next one.